Welcome back to the Agent Roadmap series. This is season 2 of the Agent Roadmap series that we've titled Momentum. Season 1 was called The Foundation. It's everything you need to know to go from 0 to 25 transactions. Season 2 is at this stage that we start to ramp up, right? That 25 to 50 transaction mark. The focus here in this series is really going to be on what it takes, what's required, not only mental maps, but also skills, systems, processes, and procedures to go from 25 to 50 transactions. We're going to really dial in and drill down systems, processes, procedures, and how to go about hiring. A lot of agents, at this 25-ish deal mark, because they're salespeople, they think that what's going to help them to get from 25 to 50 primarily and almost exclusively is perhaps lead sources, lead follow-up, and, maybe practicing some skills. Now, those things are important. At the same time, my professional experience, at this stage, the thing that agents need to focus on the most is actually systems and delegation. It's what's going to allow you to go from 25 to 50. You can only grow to the proportion that your systems will allow you to. Thousandaires think, what do I have to do? Millionaires think in systems. I need everybody to be clear. The real thing that's keeping you stuck is a lack of systems, processes, and procedures, a lack of staff that's helping you to be able to process these transactions. That's why agents end up kind of at this 20-25 deal a year mark in perpetuity. It's definitely not a place where you're aggressively getting ahead and moving towards financial freedom and independence. So once we're clear on that, now we need to say okay, well, how do I go about creating those systems, processes, and procedures? So the first thing is you want to get super clear on tasks that you want performed. The idea and the way I like to coach and train others is to think to yourself hey, what are time vampires? What are sucking away extended periods of time? And usually those would be things like, dropping off keys and lock boxes, sitting in open houses, going to closings, meeting inspectors, doing a lot of the income servicing activity. So once a property goes under contract, all the communications with the other agent and kind of coordinating inspections, appraisals. On the listing side, all of those tasks that are required, those rote, repetitious tasks that are required in order to put properties on the market. So these are all what I would propose or suggest are time vampires. They're sucking time away to be able to stay in the income producing activities, which again is PLAN, prospect, lead, follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. The next thing that you want to get really clear on is the type of person that you need to help you with these types of tasks. So it's not uncommon as salespeople, because again, we're singularly focused on producing income. We have this kind of fear internally that anything that takes us away from that will cause us to end up broken alone and by ourselves. So it leads us to never create systems, processes, and procedures, right? And we also have a tendency to hire out of pain, not out of gain. So you'll get real busy and things will start to fall apart and stuff slipping through the cracks. And then you'll be like, oh man, I need some help. And you'll look around and grab anybody who's standing next to you, sisters, cousins, aunts. There's a very critical flaw in that strategy and approach. What we're really after in hiring somebody to execute on those SOPs or those checklists is we want to match natural behaviors with tasks. That's really what we're doing when we're hiring. What we end up doing as, salespeople is we end up going with our gut when we're making this selection. And gut stands for give up thinking, right? We're not being really intentional and purposeful. And if you don't match behaviors with tasks, you will end up having to manage that person a lot. And that's not the goal and objective, right? The better you're able to manage tasks with natural behaviors, the less management that's required, right? So I hear lots of times people like, oh man, you can't find good people, whatever. Well, usually if I point a finger out, there's 3 fingers pointing back at me. With a high degree of probability, it has to do with my selection process and how I'm going about it. And more often than not, most agents don't have any selection process, right? It's just random, again, out of pain, not out of gain. The best way to really get clear on that is by administering a personality test. There's various different ones that are out there. Some of the popular ones, the DISC profile, we happen to use within our organization, the predictive index. So whichever one you use, it's fine. Just make sure that you're very well versed in their definitions or categories of the different personality types. My personality profile on the predictive index is that of a maverick, are very, very well suited to be a salesperson. They have high levels of competitiveness, like a high need for kind of dominance, for autonomy, for control. So if you were to match my natural behaviors with the task of, let's say, sales, like it's going to go really, really well, and you're not going to need to manage me that much. Now, if you were to put my personality profile where I don't have autonomy, I don't have control, I'm not able to compete, I'm really not going to be great in that position, right? Just naturally, based on my disposition, my personality, and natural behaviors, independent of what's on my resume. Now the question is, all right, well, where am I supposed to look for these people? We have a tendency to go to strangers first, which is like, why would I do that, right? If I have the option to choose kind of people that I know, like, and trust, or get referred to people from people that I know, like, and trust, why would I not do that first? So what I've always done in terms of staff, and it's worked out very well for me, is once I am clear that we have a need, for an individual, the first place I'm going to look is internally, right? From people that I know, like, and trust, people I do business with, and just getting the word out. The next layer that I would go to, if for some reason that didn't work, or simultaneously in conjunction with going to my inner circle, people that I know, like, and trust, also past clients, centers of influence, blasting out to your database. Hey, we're growing, we're expanding. We need somebody for this. We'd love to be able to provide an opportunity from, the community. Hit us up if, respond to this email if you know somebody who may be interested. I know individuals who some of the best people that they've have on their team came from their internal database of past client centers of influence. So those two places first. Next place I would go is media, media channels, just posting about it, letting people know, again, into a community of people who already know, like, and trust you, and ask and let people know, like, hey, we're looking. And then the last place I would go is to strangers. In terms of that filtering process, whatever it is that you're hiring for, you want to create a process in which you're filtering out for behaviors that you want. So an example of that would be like, hey, for those who reach out, call this number and leave a voicemail telling us why, you think this position would work for you. And what we're doing there is we're filtering out for communication skills. Get rid of some applicants based on those messages. Then it's like, all right, they get a response like, hey, write an email. And in that email, include a video of you explaining why, again, you're a good fit for this position. And again, what we're doing there is looking at kind of, disposition, the way that they communicate, right? You get a sense and a feel for somebody on video. Are they technologically savvy? Do they know how to send you a video and embed it into an email, right? You can maybe have them do like a little teeny task, the list of things that you would have them do. Like, hey, here's just like a little trial. Like, could you create this in Canva for us and like send it to it? You know what I'm saying? And again, that's demonstrating proficiency at skills. And then after that, we should whittle down a bunch of people. Then we implement a personality profile test, right? To make sure it matches. Then we sit down with them. Then we can actually hire somebody. If you notice, what we're doing here is we're creating a system and a process and a procedure for hiring, right? And it's no different than the system, processes, and procedures that we have for listing property in high volume. Once you do hire these individuals, I think it's really, really important to have an onboarding process. You can create a video library that people can plug into. There's different platforms that you can use to create that video library. We use Go High Level. There's other like Thinkific or something like that people can plug into for that onboarding process. Because I see a lot of agents too, once they bring people in, there is no onboarding process. They're just doing deals, going on appointments, and they are not taking the time to onboard people properly. And then they don't end up working out. And then they say to themselves, hey, there's no good help here. I might as well just continue to do it by myself. And then they end up stuck perpetually, at that 20, 25 deal a year mark and never grow beyond it. A pro tip in terms of finding those applicants, that process that I just described to you is great. Something that we've done is we've used like a fractional HR company. There are VAs that are basically companies that specialize in just hiring people. And what they do is you let them know specifically, you pay them by the hour, it's like $40 an hour. And you pay them specifically to go out and find candidates and filter through some of those candidates and then hand them over to you, right? So we did that recently for someone and we knew specifically what we wanted. We expressed it to the HR kind of VA, let them know, hey, this is exactly what we're looking for. These are the skills that we want them to have. These are the pieces of technology we want them to be proficient in. Not that they can learn it, but they already know it. And then they went out and found a bunch of different candidates. They sent them to us. They do some pre-filtering. They talk to them and kind of based on those conversations that they have with them, weed out. They ended up sending us, I think it was like 6. We interviewed 3. The second one was probably the one. And that's the one we ended up going with. And that's worked out really well. So that's another thing that you can do. I think it ended up costing us $1,200. It was well worth it. Well worth the price, right? People oftentimes ask me, hey, should I do it VA or should I do it like part-time or should I do it full-time? Should I do it VA or should I do it in person? Well, let's talk briefly about the pros and cons of each. So VAs are magnificent in the sense that they're really, really capable. They're really, really qualified, really, really want to work. And you can get them at a fraction of the cost that you can for somebody local. Those are the benefits. The challenges is that anything that's not monitored will usually be taken advantage of because that's human nature. And if you're not monitoring and staying on top of them, it's not that they're bad people, but They may be apt to wander or say they're working when they're not, right? So there's some software that you can utilize, that they can utilize to kind of clock in and clock out, and that'll monitor their screens and things of that nature. That's really like the main con that I see with them. The second main con I see with them is time, right? Because oftentimes they're in different parts of the world. As such, they may not be working at times that like you really need them to be on and to be answering, and it kind of defeats the purpose, right? I think VAs are really good for like rote repetitious stuff. We have currently 2 VAs on our team. Local is somebody like an actual like assistant. That would be somebody I would propose that would be like an executive administrative assistant, serves as like a client care coordinator that is talking to clients, fielding the phone calls, your phone numbers in the like that phone number that's in the MLS system goes to them. It doesn't go to you, right? So they're answering questions. They're kind of directing agents in terms of, getting information with regards to properties and things of that nature. Obviously, that's going to be a more expensive hire. At the same time, the goal and objective is with a high degree of probability at some point to have both. So what I would propose or suggest to you at the beginning is to lead with revenue, make sure we're making some money. First one would be a listing coordinator. Second would be a transaction coordinator. Those are pretty simple and easy to come by. You're not locked into a salary, right? Because it's on a per transaction basis. And then with the eye towards, as we start to build momentum, eventually having a full-time personal assistant. Now, what gets in the way of this and hiring people is lifestyle usually. So most people get into real estate, they're salespeople, they're not business people. They're selling something, they're not building something. That's the mentality. So the goal is to increase production so that way I can just rip out as much money as I possibly can from the business and increase my lifestyle. Buy a home, buy a secondary home, cars, watches, clothes, like all that stuff, right? And that is foolish because essentially long-term, if you think about it, good judgment is about what's best for the long-term. So long-term, what are you setting yourself up for? Right? Having no help, no assistance, and always having to be there to basically do everything. You just have a high paying job. You don't really have a business, right? That's an error in judgment. And what I would propose or suggest to you is like as fast as possible, you want to build this core of people that can help you because it is what's going to allow you to scale. It's not going to be role playing more. It's not going to be, going to another sales workshop or something. The lack of systems is what's going to hinder you the most in terms of that growing. The last thing I want to share with you is that delegation is a skill. There's a difference between delegating and abdicating. So abdicating is where you like completely let go of something and be like, I'm not interested, you deal with it. And you take your hands off it and your eyes off of it. That's foolish. Delegation is where I take my hands off of it, but not my eyes off of it. So I'm still going to pay attention, still be monitored. I will allow people to do their job. So what I see happen as a key hindrance here is once you do all of this and get that right person in place, oftentimes agents don't allow the people that they've hired to do their jobs because they don't trust them. And the real issue is because they don't have a system. They actually don't trust the system because there is no system. And memory is not a system. So they constantly feel like they need to be monitoring and stuff. So it really ends up defeating the purpose. They hire somebody. It's not freeing up their time because they're hovering over them and doing all their job for them, or they're answering emails, or they're telling themselves these lies like, oh, you know what? I saw that email come in and they're busy. I'll just answer it real quick. Like, no, I want you to be so clear that at this stage, if you want to go from 25 to 50 transactions, this is one of the main critical skills that you have to learn is how to build systems, how to hire people, and how to delegate. And without it, you will be perpetually stuck at that level of production. And the good news is the fact that you're here and you've watched this whole video and you're watching all of the series, you're committed to growing and expanding. It's you that I create this content for, right? It's my public service to equip you with everything that you need. So if you like this episode, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe so you can know when all the new episodes come out. And I sincerely look forward to connecting soon on the next episode.